tourism. You would have heard a lot about tourism the last couple of days if you've been watching these panels and listening to the explanation of how the implementation of the respective visions of Qatar and Saudi Arabia are going. Diversification is a big part of that, and leaning into sectors like tourism is a very important pillar in that diversification strategy. So we're going to talk about the future of tourism in the Gulf region, and not just specific to each individual country, but also this concept of collaborative tourism. So where multi-destination tourism comes in amongst the countries within the GCC. And then, of course, the role the private sector is going to play in helping to bring those plans to fruition. So, Your Excellency, I would love to start with you. And in my earlier panels, I also brought up the World Cup, but I think it is, and it was, a very important event in terms of putting Qatar on the global map as a tourist destination, as a destination for sporting events. What comes next?
I'm very happy to be with you, Joumanna, and my brother Ahmed and Sébastien. Actually, the World Cup in Qatar played and Qatar being pioneer by hosting such mega event in the region. We can see that the effect of hosting the World Cup in Doha, how affected the tourism in the whole region. And it's showcasing our beauty of our culture, our art, museum, and everything is in the Gulf are ready to host such events. And you can see the other GCC countries follows and targeting such mega events. And this reflects also our leadership, how consider tourism and importance of tourism to diversify our economy. As Qatar or Saudi Arabia and UAE, they are mostly known for oil and gas and these natural resources. But now we believe in tourism, how much can contribute to our GDP and how much we can show to the world this spot, it's worth to explore. And this is the right time for our region.
And is it contingent on holding these type of big events, or is the goal for there to be regular stream of tourists coming in, irrespective of hosting these fantastic mega events like the World Cup?
You know, we are now working on upholding the benefits of hosting the World Cup and build on top of that and develop our strategy and regulations to be able to enable this private sector and tourism to grow and receiving more people. You see, after the pandemic, the GCC was one of the fastest growing in tourism. It's recovered very quickly, and the demand is very high. We have high connectivity airlines. So in Qatar, as Qatar Airways, as award-winning airlines, or in our neighbors, the Emirates or Etihad, and upcoming Riyadh Air. So it's growing up.
Yeah. Your Excellency, I had a look at the Saudi numbers. Tourism's current GDP contribution is 4.5%, and you aim to get that to 10% by 2030. If my numbers are off, please correct me. How do you get from 4.5% today to 10% in 2030?
Thank you, Joumanna, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Qatar and my friend Abdulaziz for inviting me to be part of this very important forum. We got from 3.5 to 4.5 in about 2 years. I think in 7 years we can get to 5. Travel and tourism is a very important industry globally. It represents 10% of the global economy and 10% of the global jobs. And this region share of this market is about 7.5%, the GCC region. And I believe our fair market share is 10%. And therefore, we realized, all of us in the region, that this is a very important sector. In Saudi Arabia, it is one of the main pillars in Vision 2030. And we are committed to take this sector contribution to both job and economy to 10% by 2030. How to do that? We have already put all the plans, and we are growing very fast. and we are putting in the pipeline to build more than 250,000 key rooms. Accor is an example. In 20 years, they have established 41 hotels, and in the next 7 years, they will add 45. They will double their capacity in Saudi Arabia in terms of number of buildings, number of hotels, and expanding the roads, airports. We are adding King Salman Airport with 120 million capacity, like Ahmed Airport here in Qatar. And we are establishing new airlines, Riyadh Airlines, for point to point. We're making the access to Saudi Arabia very easy through online visa and more direct flight from the main cities globally that produce tourists to the main cities in Saudi Arabia. And building and investing in major destinations, I would call it cities, like Neom, Red Sea, Qiddiya, Diriyah, with announced investment of more than $800 billion in the next 7 years. All this and many others will help the country to get its the contribution of tourism to the economy to 10% by 2030, and we aim to more than that. I believe we, like Qatar, put all the plans to grow this very important sector and to capture our fair market share of this very important industry. This is a very important industry also for jobs. In the last 5 years, we added 250,000 jobs to the sector. 60% of these jobs were captured by women, and this is very important, and more than 60% were captured by youth, young people. I think this is one of the best sectors for job creation. I think, I believe we in the GCC have everything to create another industry. We've been successful in the last decades to create the oil and gas, the petrochemical industries, and financial services, and so on and so forth. And I think we started, all of us, to invest in this very important industry for the future, and to unlock the value, the hidden values that we have collectively in the GCC.
What are the main tourism geographies that you're looking to attract? Where are you looking to get tourists from?
Well, actually, we run a very simple formula. 2080, which are the countries that export the 80% of the tourists in terms of number? And the number is quite risky, we focus on value or spend more than the number. And therefore, we have started to see some countries, and most recently Japan, a few days ago, are complaining about over-tourism. So we want to focus on the countries that the GDP per capita is higher than others, countries that is within 6-hour flight, and we are, both of us, are located in a very strategic geographical location where within 8 hours flight, we access to almost 40% of the global population. So we don't have the problem of, being far away from the main hubs. And therefore, China is a target, Europe is target, the emerging middle class in India is a very good target for all of us. We have the plans to reach to these target markets and attract them for various reasons, whether to visit their family and friends who lives in our countries, or to come and perform their religious duties, or to come and enjoy the sport and the leisure activities, or the conferences like this conference.
So I had the privilege of speaking to Sébastien back in January 2021, and if you remember, that was peak pandemic-ish around January 2021. It was a very difficult time for the hospitality sector. And I've got to say, to give you credits, you were very optimistic about the future of the sector at the time. And one of the questions I asked you, I went back and watched our interview, 1.5 billion people traveled in 2019. The year later, obviously, it dropped by 70%. And you said to me, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that number come back in 2023, possibly 2024. Last year, the number was 1.3 billion. So give us a sense of how quickly things have come back, and also why the growth has been so much quicker in this part of the world where we are right now.
It's simple, because it is the best industry in the world.
Okay.
Not biased or anything.
right.
No, but I'm provoking you a bit, but I mean it, and I'll tell you why I mean it. Travel tourism, and you both said it rightly, it is 11% of the GDP in the world. It is the second largest industry on this planet, behind media and telecom industry. It is 12% of the jobs in the world work for travel and tourism. It is the only industry where you provide inclusiveness, diversity, chance in life, underprivileged people, and give them a chance. The only one, because you don't need to go to university to probably work in a hotel. We at Accor alone, every year, we hire more than 100,000 people, every single year. 60% of them never went to university, never had a job before. So, and I really believe, seriously, this is probably the best medicine to prevent conflict, is travel and tourism. Because when you discover somebody else's culture, somebody else's heritage, if you learn from differences, then you probably have greater respect. So, and it's an industry which is super easy to predict, because it's only linked to one factor, demography. When I was born, the planet had 2.8 billion people. Today, close to 7.8 billion. In one lifetime, you added 5 billion people, and it took over 2,000 years to go to 2.8 billion people when I was born. So the more people exist on the planet, the more you're going to have emergence of middle-class population, as you do have in India, in China, and many places. Those people have the wherewithal to travel, both, they start domestically, and then they go abroad. So you just have to be a welcomer, host those people, have the right infrastructure, have the right, basically, people working for you. It's a blessed industry. We've been growing at 3 to 5% for the last 50 years. Of course, we had hiccup, 2008 and COVID, and I was on my knees when I was with you in 2021. We almost died. But I was telling everybody, wait, it's only going to be a matter of 2 or 3 years, and the recovery today, I'm guaranteeing you the next 20 years, the growth will be 5 to 7% per year, not 3 to 5. Why? Demography, emerging middle class, and airlines. We are extremely linked to the numbers of new planes being ordered.
Yeah.
And see, you're going to watch in the next 5 years, between now and next 5 years, India will change our industry profoundly, both within India and outside of India. And you in the GCC and Southeast Asia, you will be by far the best beneficiaries of the Indian new emerging middle class travelers, because as they do with the Chinese, 80% of Chinese, they stay in Asia Pacific. India, they will stay within 5 hours radius flying. They're going to go Southeast Asia if they go east. If they go west, they're going to go to Egypt and the GCC and North Africa. It's a fabulous industry. The problem is it's a human capital industry, so it's tough to operate, and you have to accept the risk.
So I actually spoke to the CEO of Riyadh Air, Tony Douglas, a week ago, and he was very excited about the possibilities that becoming a commercial operation in 2025 is going to open up. Before we move on, I just want to ask you one question also, because we spoke about this off stage, is the importance of the luxury sector and how you think creating a tourism package around the luxury space is going to be more appealing to people who are looking to start exploring this part of the world.
Your Excellency, you said it a minute ago. We have to be very careful here. When you start and you open your country to travel and tourism, usually you start with the economic, mid-scale, affordable brand, because that's what people need domestically, and that's what people could afford when they travel. The more mature your country is coming, then you go up the scale and you go to luxury and lifestyle, because then you have a better value spent per visitors. So Sub-Saharan Africa today is 80% economy mid-scale. If you go to some mature countries 20 years after the fact, it's luxury upscale. So it depends on the early stage or the later stage of those countries.
Your Excellency, a follow-up question to that, given the scale of how much growth we're going to see, and perhaps a question to both of you, and I do want to get on to the next topic, which is the collaboration, but maybe a very quick answer on whether you think there's going to be a problem in creating or finding enough talent for the jobs that will be created in the future.
As we have here in Qatar, and since tourism became one of the pillars of our NDS, and aligned with Qatar Vision 2030, we set a goals and target. It's to increase our contribution to GDP by 12% by 2030. Number two, to increase the employment in this sector. We cannot achieve the numbers we want unless we enable the rules and regulations and training for to increase the employment in the sector. And there is a huge potential in the market here in Doha. We can grow this up. We set our plans to reach this point, and this will lead for increasing the domestic spend within the country. This is why we see now tourism become very important, not only in Qatar, and also you can see the impact in Saudi Arabia and how much employment they have for a recent few years. We have university teaching hospitality and tourism. We have in Qatar Tourism Service Excellence Academy, which assure the service excellence in all their aspects in Doha. And we growing this up by some modification in the rules and regulation.
Your Excellency, do you foresee an issue?
This is a very important question. Our industry will be facing two challenges. One, digitalization. I believe, and I've been pushing very hard not to digitalize the whole journey, because the tourists wants to interact with people. When you get into the black taxi in London, you speak with the driver, and you get a flavor of what is going on in London. And you meet with the reception or the concierge, you can discuss various things. And therefore, we have to be very careful what to digitalize and what to keep with the human. And the manpower. The manpower is extremely important. You can find the same buildings, the same Fairmont Hotel in Doha or Hong Kong or London, and the same systems and the same food. However, you cannot find the same people. You want to use your local people. The only resource that will convert and convey your local culture to your visitors are the people, the local people. And therefore, we looked at this seriously in Saudi Arabia, and we have a big population, 70% below 30 years old. They don't want in the past to join the sector. We increased the starting point of their salaries to be at the level of the financial sector, to make the sector as attractive. And we started to provide them with a career path. In the past, they don't see themselves working on this sector for forever. They come to the sector and then they join the government in different jobs. And we have been investing actually, $100 million every year to train 100,000 people every year. And recently we have launched a program with Accor group to train the young Saudis. We want them to be in the business. We want them to work on the airlines and in the airports, and to drive the Uber, and to work on the hotel and the hospitality. And and to become the tour guide, and so on and so forth. This will enrich the journey and the experience of the visitors to the country. Human capital is important. I was extremely happy when I visited the Red Sea, the first resort in the Red Sea. It's the St. Regis and the Six Senses. I know you're gonna open hotels soon, but in the St. Regis, there are 300 people working on the hotel. 150 of them are young Saudis, boys and girls. I took a photo with them, and I was so happy to see them, you know, serving their guests and transferring the local culture and enriching the experience of our international visitors.
If I may add on this, here in GCC, we have something, I think it's unique and worth to showcase it. We don't have Eiffel Tower, we don't have Colosseum in Rome, we have the genuine Gulf people hospitality and authentic hospitality. And the best way to show this to the world, if we have this employment, our Qataris and Saudis or locals or who lives in Doha and Qatar and have the same identity of hospitality and the generosity, this can promote and give the visitor the full experience and very well treated here.
Yeah.
So we are promoting our hospitality and will be through this employment.
Let me ask you about the state of collaboration amongst GCC countries, and what are you doing in that space to tailor-make a tourism destination that is multi-destination, not just specific to Qatar, but around the GCC as a whole? Have there been discussions?
Joumanna, looks behind you.
Literally look behind
No,
you.
I'm touched. Here we are in Doha, in Qatar, and they are very nicely showing a picture of Alula in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
This is the beginning of what we're just asking.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this is one of our recent collaboration with Kingdom Saudi, and especially between Qatar Tourism and Ministry of Tourism in Saudi. We launched a joint program called Double Your Discovery. We are promoting Qatar and Saudi in one campaign, and we identified a few markets to launch this campaign. And we can see how it's growing up and picking up, and people would love to come and have double experience in one region, 1 hour away by flight, and have different cuisine, different culture, but you feel that you are in one country. This is taking us to the benefits of collaboration. The competition, you see it in the region now, we see it's cumulative efforts. And end of this year, we might see the unified GCC visa, which also will contribute to the number of visitors to this region. And His Excellency,
I think, Joumanna, this is also a very good question. I look at the world in 3 bulks: the East culture, the West culture, and the Arabian culture. And, you know, to demonstrate the real Arabian culture and hospitality, it's the GCC. And therefore, we hosted the Ministers of Tourism meetings in Al-Ula in 2021. And we came up with the declaration that we proposed to the leaders to approve a one visa to make the travel between the GCC countries seamless, like Europe. And the leaders were very kind to approve it last year, and hand it over to the Minister of Interiors to discuss the details and to come up with the unified system. I think, you know, the first step is to make the travel between the GCC countries seamless, and then to start working on a joint packages and joint flights and joint promotion programs to, you know, put this emerging destination in the global travel map.
Yeah.
And this is what we are doing. We started with Qatar, and this is going to be a pilot. Actually, we started with Qatar during the World Cup, where if you get a visa, you can access the 2 countries. And the program, or that pilot, was extremely successful. And we will build on this. But definitely, this is a very important region. We can offer a lot. We are in Saudi Arabia developing a full-year destination. However, in the winter, more than 2 billion people living in a temperature around or below zero, where they can swim here and they can enjoy the sun in our winter.
Yeah. Sébastien, I've got maybe just 1 minute, but I do want to ask you, from your perspective, what type of potential would this unlock, this collaborative tourism drive?
Well, for me, it's for Accor and for many of us, GCC is the fastest growth region on the planet. It is, for travel and tourism. Far beyond. We are already 25% better than 2019. The rest of the world is in between -5 to +5. And it's not by accident. And the reason why that is, and don't ask me to choose between Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar.
I wouldn't dare.
I came in Doha in 1991, so like 33 years ago. So, and this is my job, is to promote the region, but also to explain that what you're going to be discovering in Doha and in Qatar is very different from what you will be likely discovering from the UAE, and also very different from Saudi. Some of them are ahead on culture, some of them are being ahead on heritage, some of them are ahead on gastronomy. It's a different, but it's worth spending 7 days within 3 countries. For me, it's a true blessing. What I'm adding, when I said not coming by accident, and I'm not basically giving something you want me to say, but what I'm so surprised and bluffed is leadership. In each of those regions, why is it growing that fast? It's because there is a plan, there's a vision, there's ambition, there is destinations, there is financial muscles, there is manpower. All of that has been structured, programmed, developed, different pace, but you don't have this in many other continents, and I wish we had more of this in Europe.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellencies, and thank you, Sébastien, as ever.
Thank you, Joumanna. Thank you.
Thank you.